No, it's not. Good morning and welcome. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the children at sea. It's Friday here at Site B. It's about 8:30 in the morning on this, the 16th day of February 2024, and it's overcast and gray with a possible rain warning yet again because of El Nino or La Nina or April showers or Arctic floods, or I don't know. It's rain. Stop giving it weird names. It's Friday, which means there might be some news that we missed. And yes, there is. There's 3 stories we kind of missed. Well, 2 stories we missed, and one that is a continuation of yesterday's story. The first story is the announcement that the first official Dungeons and Dragons theater production is coming out. It's going to premiere in New York, of all places, not on Broadway, obviously off Broadway. The Poconos and the Catskills, as we used to call it back in the old days. She was big in the Catskills. So this is a thing. It's going to happen, and they're claiming it is the first official Dungeons and Dragons theater show. Now, the first question that comes to mind with short-term memory, it would be, well, what about Critical Role? They did theater shows. Weren't those official? At which point Wizards of the Coast could say no, because those were Critical Role live shows, not Dungeons and Dragons light shows, where an idiot like me would go, well, aren't they called 20-Sided Tavern and not official Dungeons and Dragons? Wouldn't it just be the Dungeons and Dragons theater show if it was official? This is 20-Sided Tavern, and you're just sponsoring them. Which, of course, then leads to, well, what does official mean? Official means like the same thing as world famous, right? I mean, is it really world famous? If I go everywhere in the world, are they going to go, oh, yeah, I know about that? Is it official because Wizards of the Coast went, yeah? Or is it official because they're just using the name Dungeons & Dragons? Well, case in point, this is not the first theatrical production of role-playing. Critical Role wasn't in the first. Before Critical Role, there was Harmon Quest, which was done in front of a live audience. And before that you can go back to as far back as Theatrics, which was being done in the 80s. I know because I was assistant stage manager at a theater in Studio City that did interactive Hollywood medieval Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it wasn't official, but whatever. It was done by a production company called Hollywood Medieval. They had a little theater over on Ventura Boulevard. It was open for about a year and a half. I worked there as assistant stage manager, so I could use the property after they locked up to run my game. This will be using there'll be a official branded Wizards of the Coast merchandise at this. This is interactive. Now, interactive can be dangerous, especially when dealing with a live studio audience, especially when dealing with a live studio audience that does D&D, because you got to worry about the kind of weird shit people's going to yell out. Take her top off! You know that's going to happen. And they're going to be picking people from the audience. And the audience can interact with the stage show via a app. And each player is going to be playing multiple characters in the role-playing game. Now, let's just tear that apart because, wow, okay. Weird. So, yeah, they're going to be playing multiple characters, and they don't know what's going to happen ahead of time because they don't know how the audience is going to interact with them, because the audience has to download and install the app, which you know is going to have malware and advertising on it. And then so 30 characters divided by 4 or 5 people kind of sounds like you sort of already have a script, and then that script is going to be modified by how the random studio audience members that you pick interact, and how people interact with the app, assuming that, you know, that actually means anything. There are a lot of wibbly wobbly things that are involved with this. Now, it might, you know, at the end of the day, you're going to see an improv show where they're doing D&D. It's like scenes from a hat. or anything else. It's an improv show, which means there's usually some kind of idea, and there's probably plants in the audience, which are people that are going to, say certain things, do certain things, make sure certain things go a certain way, and direct the audience in certain ways so that it doesn't get too ridiculous, like take her top off. So yeah. It probably will be fine. It's probably be very expensive to go see. They're probably counting on you buying a whole bunch of merch on the way out, and who knows? I mean, it's at least it's something for the 50th. I mean, I can't see anything really wrong in it, other than then claiming it's the first, because it's not. The only thing that they can claim is, hey, we've got official Wizards of the Coast gear, and we can use the official Wizards of the Coast emblem for now. But yeah, you go all the way back to the 80s and theatrics and Hollywood medieval, but whatever. Good luck. Who knows? I mean, it'll probably be dumb, and I'm sure certain individuals in the woke crowd will complain about it, and certain individuals in the OSR will complain about it, and they'll receive some good, a lot of bads, a few death threats. So whatever. Pretty much situation is normal. Moving right along, we got this thing. We got an announcement of the third book in the new Dragonlance trilogy from Margaret and Tracy, which some people might be going, why? Aren't they still angry at Wizards of the Coast because they got fucked over on the movie TV show? And yes, I think it's pretty much fair to say that Margaret and Tracy are pretty upset with the way Wizards of the Coast is treating them. Unfortunately, they signed a contract. So they got to do the Dungeons and Dragon novel. They got to finish up the trilogy. They got to fulfill their contract, and it could be an epic, sweeping story worthy of the Dragonlance license, or it could be a piece of bodice ripper, summer read trash. Don't know. The art looks it's just okay. Just what's going on with this individual's eyes and this individual's eyes. I mean, this person right here looks okay. She looks very grumpy. She has all her fingers. She's looking at me like very condescending, like, what are you doing on my land, motherfucker? But then we got this guy, and he just looks like he's wearing a mask. Like, that's not his face. He's glued. It's like the end of Deadpool, where Deadpool has the picture of Hugh Jackman glued to his face. This guy just those like. And this person over here, she looks like they painted something over her face to give her a different face. She looks very much upset about something or constipated. Yeah. So they had to do it, because they signed a contract. They can say it's the Dungeons and Dragons Dragonlance novel and not a Dragonlance novel. And they could define that Dungeons and Dragons Dragonlance and Dragonlance are now two separate timelines, because once you throw that multiverse title out there, you can't take it away. And you can use that multiverse title much the same way people used to use Alan Smithy as the writer/director of things they didn't want to be associated with. So they did this. It could be great. It could be awful. It's the end of the trilogy. I don't know what, if anything, they have going forward in regards to relationships with Wizards of the Coast and Dragonlance D&D, as opposed to Dragonlance not D&D. I think after the whole Joe Manganiello thing, Margaret and Tracy are probably going to rethink the future of their relationships with Wizards and the D&D license and the Dragonlance license, and how they can get more control over it away from Wizards. I'm not aware enough to make any comment on the story and what the legality is and stuff like that. But hopefully Margaret and Tracy will make something announce it, or somebody who has a more direct contact with them, like Yo Dano, will be able to get an answer on the future of Dragonlance after this. And finally, because Wizards cannot leave well enough alone, we are following the unintentional soap opera controversy flames over this little 3-minute video. So if you're not up to date with what's going on with the 3-minute video, God damn it, Chris, just retire. Just step down. Just go do Acquisitions Incorporated, where you actually have a good time. This went up 5 days ago. And the main there's a couple complaints about it, how condescending it was, and also the fact that there was no mention of Gygax or Arneson. Well, a couple days later, there was a slew of posts going, "Hey, how come you didn't thank Dave and Gary?" And we got so as far as 90% of the posts were, "Hey, how about acknowledging Dave? How about acknowledging Gary? How about acknowledging Mike? How about acknowledging Ed? How about acknowledging Rob? How about acknowledging the people who helped the game 50 years ago and all the people whose shoulders you're standing on to get where you are, Jeremy Crawford?" So I brought that up, that they, all these things were being mentioned and people were calling them out. And then later on that day, RPG Pundit mentioned that all those were gone, that all those comments about where's Gary, where's Dave were gone. And I confirmed, yes, they were gone. I remember exactly pretty much where each one it was relationship to my post. So I just scrolled down and I knew that right here, right under this one, there was 3 posts about Gygax and Arneson. And then if you scrolled through, 80% of the posts that were about Gygax and Arneson were gone. And that was yesterday afternoon. Yesterday evening, I checked. My post was gone. But there were new posts. There was about 20 or 30 new posts. Here's one from 12 hours ago. Saying the same thing. This thing here. Then this morning, they're gone. This one is from 12 hours ago. It's still up, but this morning when I checked at 6 a.m., all the new posts that were addressing the lack of mention of Gygax and Gary were, gone. But now it looks like some new ones are sneaking in. And my post is back, even though it was gone. What does that mean? I don't know. This kind of reminds me of the thing with the announcements of the timeline for the new releases, where remember the poster had a date, then the poster didn't have a date, then the poster had a date, then the poster didn't have a date. This is kind of the same thing. There are posts about the missing Gary and Dave. There aren't any posts about the missing Gary and Dave. The posts about missing Gary and Dave are back. The posts about missing Dave and Gary are gone again. Now, it could be some algorithm scrubber bot thing that is programmed to go through and erase those comments, and people are just finding ways to trick it, or enough people are just pouring down those comments that it's filtering past the gate and showing up. Especially if you word it right, you can trick the algorithm spider scrubber to not see the mentions of Gary and Dave. Or it could be 2 different people. Because if you remember, I speculated with the whole date thing. There was 2 different people involved, and one person was trying to let us know what was going on, and another person wasn't. Because we know there are people inside Wizards of the Coast who are leaking the truth, who are letting us know to the best of their ability what's going on. It's the same people who leak the thing about the OGL. Stephen Glicker talks about his secret contacts. I used to have a secret contact in Wizards of the Coast. They were one of the people who lost their jobs. I may have a new one. I'm not saying, because I don't want to jeopardize anybody's performance or job. So as far as you know, I have no contact with Wizards of the Coast whatsoever, except through Stephen Glicker and what I read online, and the fact that I still have one share of stock. So it could be that there's one person who is secretly allowing these things to remain, and another person whose job is to go through and scrub them. And then that person number 1 comes back to work and goes, "Oh, I see you scrubbed all the comments. I'm just going to make sure the new comments get put on. And maybe some of the missing comments I might put back." Now, I don't know how that works. Can you put a comment back on once it's been erased? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I don't understand comptometers enough to know. I just know that there were comments. Those comments were gone. Last night I checked around 8. A lot of comments were back. This morning at 6, those comments were gone. Now today at 8:50, there are some comments again. So it could be a filter, it could be a bot, it could be evil aliens. I don't know. All I know is Chris Perkins, please go get a sandwich, something, dude. I don't know. Well, that's it. That's pretty much all that's going on in the wonderful, wacky world of Hasbro Wizards of the Coast on this Friday. So next week is President's Day, which means if they're taking a 3-day weekend, we won't hear much from them till the 20th. So, yeah, hopefully we'll have a Hasbro Wizards of the Coast free weekend. And we could start with Wednesday in a brand new bucket of Wizards of the Coast weirdness. Once again, I should take this moment to remind Wizards of the Coast of the advice that I give them about once every 3 months, which is just stop. Please, you're not doing yourself any favors. I know you think cheap heat works because, oh yeah, it works. Look, people are reacting. It must work. But no, cheap heat doesn't work in the long term. Name one pro wrestling heel that has lasted just based upon cheap heat. You can't, because you don't. You got to have that long lasting Ric Flair heat. You got to have that long lasting MJF heat. You got to know how to have that heat, that Roman Reigns heat, where everybody hates you, but they still know who you are, and they still boo you every time you show up, and they still buy your merch. So stop it. Just Wizards of the Coast, stop. Go outside. Take a break. Give Chris Perkins a sandwich, please. That's it. Stay safe. It looks like it's going to rain again. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great weekend. Thanks to each and every individual who showed up today and listened to me blab for no reason. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please subscribe. Remember, if I hit 2,000 subs by my birthday, August 4th, I will stop talking about Wizards of the Coast for an entire month. If you haven't bought my merch yet, head on over to Lulu and check out all the wonderful stuff I've made for the Red Room, and I'll talk to y'all later.